Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Ahead of her 140-pound debut this weekend, Michaela Mayer says Natasha Jonas is the most realistic immediate fight for me. I don't want to say I told you so, but
I did.
To tell you.
All that stuff about Natasha fighting Clarissa Shields.
Natasha drives a hard bargain and Clarissa Shields wants a lot of money. That wasn't realistic. This is. Natasha Jonas is at the top of my list because it's the most realistic immediate fight for me, Mayer told Sky Sports. Hopefully, we can get that fight done sometime in December or early January. That's where I want to go immediately after this fight. I'm not sticking around at 140 pounds. I'm going to go to 147 after this fight. I'd like to step right into a world title fight because that's where I believe I'm at.
Before she can think about Jonas, Mayer wants to make a statement against former European champion Sylvia Bortot.
I think she can, and I think she will. If you've been paying attention to Michaela Mayer, she's been doing the rounds on Seconds Out, on IFL TV, and all she can talk about is how good she feels, not boiling down to 130 or 135 anymore. She's allowing her statuesque frame to fill out, and she feels much, much better and stronger.
I remember she used to score a lot of knockdowns off of that patented 1-2, that jab right hand of hers. We might see that this weekend.
I'm more determined and more motivated now than ever, Mayer said. I want to show my boxing skills. I want to show my power and my strengths from the outside. Just a little bit of everything. Put it all together. But I really want my strengths to come through. It's just to stay busy, gradually get ready for the 147-pound weight class that I plan to go to. And yes, we have a plan. So bigger things are coming. I have the experience. I have the skill. I have the size to be fighting at a more comfortable weight. Now training at this heavier weight, I feel so much better and I enjoy training more because it's not so exhausting. It's not so mentally taxing. My body feels good. I feel energized. As a result, I'm reaping the benefits in all of my hard work. Well, I figured that Michaela Mayer's always been a tall drink of boxing for 130 pounds. And that, staying at that weight for the amount of time that she did, her power may have started to wane. I mean, she's not the oldest fighter, but she's not the youngest either. She's in her early 30s. Making that weight continuously could have taken something off the punch.
This fight she's about to have with Sylvia Bortot will be fought just above 140 in preparation for a move to 147.
Sylvia Bortot has been stopped before. She could be stopped again this weekend by Michaela Mayer, who's approximately 5 years younger than Sylvia. Michaela's 33, whereas Sylvia is 38.
Michaela's been spending a lot of time in the United Kingdom, but it's not for no reason. She's over there because the biggest fights that she could hope to have in the future all involve UK fighters, whether you're talking about Natasha Jonas, a Terry Harper, a Sandy Ryan,
Chantel Cameron, you name it. They all involve Brits.
It's a concentration of fighters that may be converging at 147 pounds. You figure that if Chantel Cameron wins or loses against Katie Taylor in the fall, she's going to move up in weight in either event.
Win or lose, Natasha Jonas has already moved down to 147 from 154. I expect that Terry Harper might soon join them.
Sandy Ryan and Jessica McCaskill are already there.
I saw Michaela Mayer address the possibility of a Carolyn Dubois fight, which doesn't seem like that much of a possibility at all. While Carolyn has been adamantly calling her out, they're in different places right now, different weight classes.
It's not happening.
As well as addressing the ongoing performance-enhancing drug fiasco with her domestic rival, Alicia Boone-Gartner, Michaela Mayer's responses to that entire ordeal have been relatively PG.
I just get the sense she feels she doesn't have to say much.
She doesn't have to kick Alicia when she's down because the damage is done. And when it comes to those performance-enhancing drug fiascos, they have an adverse effect on a fighter's legacy because you never know how long that was going on, if anything was.
If anything was going on.
What has she been using, and how long has she been using it? Was she on something when she fought Michaela Mayer? This is what Michaela is likely telling herself.
I don't need a rematch because to the public, she's a dirty fighter.
You have been seeing Michaela Mayer doing the rounds and speaking to the media in so many words. That's what she's saying.
She's not thinking about Alicia Baumgartner. Alicia is not her problem anymore.
Michaela Mayer is ramping up what looks to be the second phase, the next chapter in her career. I anticipate she might even stop Sylvia Bortot this weekend. She has been stopped before by Belgium's Ocean Diriou.
Michaela might be the next fighter to stop her.
Takeaway from all of this is that Michaela Mayer's not waiting around for anybody. She's not waiting around for Katie, not waiting around for a rematch with Alicia. She's moving on. onward and upward.
Interesting times lie ahead at 147 pounds. The convergence of familiar faces and familiar fighters at welterweight.
It's going to be a hot division in the years to come. Men's heavyweight news, the continued fallout from this past weekend's action. Daniel Dubois' trainer, Don Charles, says Usyk was allowed to escape. The fight was finished in round 5.
No, it wasn't.
These guys are just hamming it up. Gaslighting the boxing community, what portion of it are unconvinced that Daniel won the fight in the 5th based on a borderline shot.
It's the only moment he even had in this fight.
After taking a few minutes to recover from the shot, Usyk would resume the contest and eventually stop Daniel Dubois in the 9th round. Over the last few days, there has been heavy debate on whether or not the punch was legal. Dubois' handlers are planning to file an appeal with the WBA, hoping to overturn the outcome to a no contest. Dubois is not in a good state right now. He's distraught. He had his dreams snatched away from him, Charles explained to The Sun.
Heavy debate is right. Veteran referee Joe Cortez, Jack Reese, they think the shot was legal.
Former fighter turned commentator Sergio Mora, he thinks the shot was legal as well, but Liam Smith, Paul Smith, they think it was a low blow.
Tony Bellew thinks it was a low blow.
Carl Froch thinks it was a low blow. A more nuanced opinion from Johnny Nelson. Johnny doesn't think it was a low blow, but to him it doesn't matter because Usyk would have got up anyway and won the fight.
Don Charles continued.
From that moment onwards, in the 5th round, the momentum shifted. Usyk using his superior experience and his masterful boxing to get out of that situation. He was allowed to escape from that situation. That fight was finished. The fight should have ended there.
There was no shift in momentum because going into the 5th, Daniel was down 4 rounds. What momentum shift?
The fight was finished. The fight should have ended then and there in round 5 with a knockout. Not even a TKO, a KO. I feel violated. I feel wounded. My fighter, he's a young guy. He's not a guy that says a lot. Luckily for us, he has a nice tight family unit, and his father is a very strong character who is hoping to hold him together. I'm going to do what a coach does mentally. It's not even physical. It's mental.
It's Oscar-worthy is what it is.
Some people are saying that Usyk was allowed to milk it, that he was rolling around on the floor, hamming it up for the cameras, and hamming it up.
What, that he was faking it?
That sounds like what some people are implying, but I'm left wondering, if you believe that he was faking it, then where do you get that Daniel knocked him out?
If you think that he was milking it.
According to Charles, he expressed concerns regarding Usyk's guard being worn too high. Usyk is known for wearing his guard extremely high. We've got footage of the referee reading our rules in the dressing room 45 minutes prior to the fight. He said to us, "Do you have any questions?" I said, "Yes, I do. Can you..."
You make sure Usyk wears his groin guard where it's supposed to finish, and he said fine. No such thing happened, Charles said. Before the bell rang, he's supposed to point to the 2 fighters and say, this is good, this is not good. He's supposed to say, but he missed the protocol.
It's more gaslighting is what that is, because you can review that fight yourself, and what you're going to immediately notice if you're actually paying attention is that Daniel's wearing his protector, he's wearing his guard higher than Usyk.
You heard what I said.
He's wearing his protector, he's wearing his trunks higher on the hip than Usyk is. Usyk's navel,
His belly button.
it's right there at the line of where the belt line starts, just above it.
He bends at the waist, it's just behind it, but it's right there at the line.
Whereas Daniel's belt line is actually higher on the torso than Usyk's.
You ain't gotta be Columbo or Telly Savalas to see it. It's in plain sight.
Don Charles would have you believe that it's Usyk that's wearing his trunks a bit too high. The eyes don't lie.
Nope.
They knew going in that Daniel Dubois' chances of victory were slim to nil. And they're highlighting this moment, this one moment in time, this one moment where Daniel gets off a clean, hard shot.
One of the few moments that happened.
They're just making the most of it because that's the most they can do. That's the most they have to go off of.
What about the people agreeing with them?
Well, they have their ulterior motives as well.
Yeah.
Now, Shane McGuigan, who used to train Daniel Dubois, says he would have changed a lot in the Usyk fight tactics.
You will recall that just before this fight, Daniel Dubois decided to part ways with Shane McGuigan after having spent some time with him, and he enlisted the aid of Don Charles, Daniel's sister, Carolyn Dubois.
She stayed with Shane.
It's my understanding that Shane was put in a position where he had to choose who he would keep training moving forward.
Shane says, I would have changed a lot. I would have forced a smaller ring. I'd have been on the referee a lot more. If I were managing Daniel, I would never have wanted that fight for him. He's only 25 years of age.
Highlighting that going into this thing, everybody knew that Daniel was overmatched. Everybody knew that his chances of victory are slim to nil. And that's why now there's such a focus on that one moment in time, that one punch in the 5th round.
One time, because the rest of the time, you could see he was getting outclassed. Shane continued, that was a fight people have wanted him to take, and were hoping and wishing he would win it with a shot so they can go and make a load of money with a fight with Tyson Fury, because they can control Daniel, and they can't control Usyk. So all along, we know where the focus was.
This is coming from Shane McGuigan, you understand. This is coming from his old trainer.
Shane highlighted the Kevin Lorena fight before the Usyk fight, saying, you've got to look at the person. He got dropped a few times, pulled that Lorena fight out of the bag, and showed lots of mettle to get out of that first round and overturn it. But your confidence is down. You've got a new knee. It was never in his favor. Going out to Poland in front of all of those fans, it just wasn't the right move. They gambled to be great, and it didn't pay off.
In boxing, you have a lot of people that are willing to be willfully obtuse.
So I'm not here to change your mind. I can only tell you what I think.
Yeah.
And if you want to know what I think, and you're here, so I'll assume that you do, they're making a mountain out of a molehill in the 5th round, because that's the only round where Daniel got off a clean, clear, hard shot. But it was a borderline shot.
Even if you think it was favorable officiating, you're hardly in any position to criticize someone over favorable officiating when that's what you got in your previous fight.
Even if that's what you think. If that's what you think, well, those are the breaks.
Tough titty, bitch.
Tough break, kid. Better luck next time.
Tough.
I mean, this is like when Dickie Eklund knocked down Sugar Ray Leonard, or when Chuck Wepner knocked down Muhammad Ali. This is that kind of deal, that kind of moment.
You're making the most of it because it's the most you can do. It's the most you have to go off of. The rest of the fight, you weren't in that thing.
We're supposed to overlook you getting dominated, getting outclassed, getting dropped 2 times. We're supposed to overlook you giving up because of a borderline shot in the 5th.
Give me a break.
It's a bit extreme, don't you think?
Daniel quit.
It's what we all saw. That's how Zhang feels about it. Ahead of his rematch with Joe Joyce, Zhang says Daniel Dubois basically quit. He needs to work on his heart.
Why is quitting so frowned upon in this sport that is much more difficult and much more dangerous than any other organized sport? Why is quitting so frowned upon?
Maybe it's because the fighters themselves know how much has to come from the individual, that this ain't like flipping burgers at McDonald's or punching in a clock and just going through the motions. You cannot approach this profession with that kind of mindset, because if you do, you're gonna get hurt.
You're gonna get found out.
Alexander Usyk's win this past weekend came with some controversy, with Dubois claiming he deserved a knockout victory due to a borderline punch that floored Usyk in the 5th round. However, the punch was ruled to be a low blow by referee Louis Pabon, a call that gave Usyk time to recover and eventually stop Dubois in the 9th. Zhang was far more sympathetic to Usyk than Dubois, commentating that, I watched the fight, and that punch was a little bit low. It landed below Usyk's navel. After the fight resumed, Dubois did not use his physical advantages, and Usyk was able to regain his rhythm. Dubois basically quit. I think Dubois needs to work on his heart.
In a sport that is as difficult and dangerous as boxing, why is it that quitting, that giving up and giving in, why is it that it's so frowned upon?
It's because what it takes to make it comes from the individual. The wherewithal, the intestinal fortitude, what the fighter's made of. All of that comes from the fighter. It can't be given to him by an elite trainer, a good corner. It can't be given to him by anyone else. It has to come from the individual. So when a guy gives up and a guy gives in, that he's willing to resort to that while the world is watching.
It's treated like a cardinal sin in the sport of boxing.
It's because sooner or later, you're going to run into a wall. You can't stay on easy street forever in this sport and hope to make it. Sooner or later, you're going to be backed into a corner, you're going to find yourself in a pinch, and you're going to be the only one that can get yourself out. Remember when Victor Ortiz had that rematch with Andre Bortot a few years ago in 2016? He was accused of giving up, of quitting. I remember on his way out of the ring, somebody threw a phone book at that guy.
Paying public pay their hard-earned dollars to watch these gladiators go at it, to give their best effort, to put their best foot forward and do what they can.
They pay to see a show. That's what they pay for. And if the gladiator is just going to pack it up as soon as things get hard and things get difficult, well, the paying public doesn't like that. They take offense. So it seems like
it's obvious why the spectators in this spectator sport frown upon quitters and quitting.
But even amongst fighters, even amongst those who are on the other side of the industry, enthralled in it.
Well, I saw Frazier Clark, unbeaten Olympian Frazier Clark. He was sympathetic towards Daniel Dubois, you know.
He sees people are giving a young guy a hard time. It's bad enough he didn't win win the fight, but being lambasted for giving up, for quitting, being accused of it, Frazier was more sympathetic than Zhang.
Zhang says he's got a ticker problem.
Zhang says he needs to work on his heart because what he basically did was quit.
Pretty much.
There's still money to be made for Daniel, and there are still fights to be made for him. He's a young guy. He's only 25. Domestically, you could probably put him in there with a Huey Fury.
A Solomon Dakers when the time comes. A Frazier Clark when the time comes.
When the time comes, a Johnny Fisher. You could put him in there with some guys domestically to where he can still make money and still have a career in the sport of boxing domestically. And I emphasize domestically because at world level, he just ain't got the minerals.
You can focus on his controversy as much as you want. When he's in a pinch, he's gonna quit.
That doesn't mean his career is over. It doesn't mean that. But at world level, the pressure that comes with competing against those kinds of fighters on those kinds of stages, Daniel doesn't have the intestinal fortitude for that or the ability.
Frank Warren can lap this up as much as he likes. He can ham it up and tell everybody that Daniel was robbed. And you might be able to convince a couple of people that he was.
They're just buying him time, masking his inadequacies. When push comes to shove and things get difficult, that's a door that you can't close, you know, once you're willing to resort to that.
You think I'm being harsh?
Excuse me if I'm curt, but I don't know a lot of nice ways to say that a guy gave up, that a guy quit. I don't know a polite way to say that.
Don Charles, very much emotionally compromised, stated that if he hears anybody saying Daniel quit, he's gonna punch them in their face. Well, Zhang just accused him of quitting. You wanna go punch him in the face?
This whole bit about the belly button and the belt line, the whole controversy in its entirety, is a distraction from Daniel Dubois quitting.
The whole thing.
Not even trying to kick him when he's down, I'm just calling a spade a spade.
That's what happened.
They can feed him a few ham and egg guys to get him back in the winner's bracket, get some momentum going, but as soon as he's confronted with adversity, as soon as things get hard,
He's gonna quit.